After dark, students and locals hit the town to party, never imagining that good times could bring imminent danger.
There's something about the nighttime that brings out the good in some people and the worst in some people.
He couldn't get inside her house. He asked if she needed help. She said no. He didn't listen. Katie Sepich fought back with everything she had. Left his DNA under her fingernails, did everything right. But in 2003, the system didn't collect DNA at arrest, so her killer walked free for 4 more years. What happened next changed the law in 31 states. This is Katie's story. Morning of August 31st, 2003. Desert outside Las Cruces, New Mexico. A man's driving past an old dump site when he sees something that makes his stomach drop. At first, he thinks maybe it's clothes, trash. But as he gets closer, the shape becomes clear. It's a body, a young woman, burned, naked from the waist down. This is Katie Sepich, 22 years old, and less than 12 hours ago she was laughing with friends, celebrating with her boyfriend, planning her MBA. Now she's lying in the desert with a stranger's DNA under her fingernails and burn marks on her skin. Police found his DNA immediately, under her fingernails, on her body. They had everything they needed to identify him, but there was a problem. In 2003, New Mexico law, like most states, said DNA could only be collected after conviction, after prison, not at arrest. Katie's mother was told by a detective, "Ma'am, in New Mexico, taking DNA at arrest is illegal." So Katie's family waited, and waited, and prayed the killer would make a mistake. 3 months later, he attacked again. 2 college students in their home, armed with a knife. They locked themselves in a bathroom and called 911. If his DNA had been in the system after Katie, they never would have been in danger. But the law protected him, not them. Before we continue with Katie's story, if you believe DNA should be collected at arrest for violent crimes, hit that like button right now. And make sure you're subscribed because we're covering cases like this every week that expose how broken our justice system really is. So, let's go back. 12 hours before Katie was found in that desert. Katie was the oldest of 3 kids. Her mama, Jean, described her as straightforward, lively, smart. The kind of daughter who grew up in Carlsbad, New Mexico, and made everybody around her feel good. She'd just graduated from New Mexico State University with a business degree. MBA program starting that fall. Working tables at a local Mexican restaurant. Folks who knew her said the same thing. Outgoing, cheerful, easy to get along with. Katie met this young man named Joe Bischoff in college. They started as friends, then became a couple. Katie was all in. She told her mama, "Mom, I think this is the one. I think this is the one I'm going to marry." They started talking about wedding plans. They even went shopping together for a ring. Joe was a really nice young man. Intelligent. Good family. After he graduated, he moved back to his hometown to work with his father in the family business. Labor Day weekend that year, Joe came back to Las Cruces. That's why Katie and her friends were getting together, to see him again, to celebrate the holiday. Saturday night, August 30th, 2003. Katie's feeling good, her man is back in town. She goes out with Joe and their crew. They hit the bars, moving from spot to spot. Eventually, they end up at a house party, about 40 people there, but then something goes left. Witnesses later said they saw Joe kissing another girl, and Katie saw it too. She was heated, hurt, angry. Her and Joe got into it, a loud argument. People noticed, and Katie had had enough. She stormed out of that party, alone, left her purse, her phone, her keys, left everything. Her roommate Veronica and Joe stayed at the house. They figured Katie went home to cool off. Her place was only about a mile away. They fell asleep. they assumed wrong. Katie's walking home through quiet Las Cruces streets, middle of the night. She's upset, probably crying, just trying to get home. She makes it to her house, then realizes no keys. They're back at the party in the purse she left. Katie had climbed through her bedroom window before, so she kicks off her shoes, leaves them in the yard, and starts trying to pull herself up. Then a truck slows down. The driver asks if she needs help. Katie says no. The truck drives off, but it comes back. This time, the driver gets out, asks again if she needs help. Katie explains she just forgot her bag. She doesn't need anything from him. He doesn't care. He grabs her, right there. Outside her own bedroom window, Katie fights. Her arms scrape the ground. She's clawing at him, at his face, at his neck. Skin and blood getting trapped under her fingernails. This girl is fighting for her life. He overpowers her, rapes her in the dirt. Then his hands go around her throat. Katie keeps fighting, keeps scratching, keeps struggling, but he doesn't stop squeezing. He squeezes until she stops moving, until she's gone. Sunday afternoon, August 31st. Katie's parents are at their house in Carlsbad, getting ready for a Labor Day pool party. Friends about to show up. The phone rings. It's Tracy, one of Katie's roommates. She asks, "Have you talked to Katie today?" Jean and Katie talked every day, multiple times, but no, she hasn't heard from her yet. Tracy's voice gets urgent. "We can't find Katie." Tracy's already called all of Katie's friends, the hospitals. Nobody's seen her. They tell Tracy to file a missing person report. Dave doesn't hesitate. "I'm heading over there. I'll go find her." At the exact same time, that local resident out by the old landfill spots what he thinks might be a body. Gets closer. It definitely is. Police roll up. Female victim, 21 to 23 years old, face down, semi-nude. Pants pulled down between her legs. The officers can tell this wasn't an accident. Scrape marks on her arms from fighting. Wounds on her fingers, skin and blood under her fingernails. The killer's DNA, strangulation marks on her neck. That's what killed her. No signs the fight happened there. She was killed somewhere else. Brought here, dumped, and burn marks on her back, on her arm. Somebody tried to set her on fire. The fire didn't last long, but the intention was clear. Destroy evidence. Katie's father, Dave, arrives from Carlsbad. Police take him to the morgue to identify the body. When Dave comes home, he tells Jean what happened. He said when they pulled back that sheet and he had to look at his daughter's face, the pain was so intense he thought he wouldn't be able to take another breath. No father should ever have to do that. Katie's death shook Las Cruces. This quiet town now had a monster running loose who killed a 22-year-old woman for no reason. Police threw every resource at this case. They needed to stop him before he struck again. They retraced Katie's last hours, where she'd been, who she was with. The party house to Katie's place was only a mile. Did she make it home? They questioned Veronica and Joe first. Why did they stay at the party while Katie walked home alone in the middle of the night? Detectives focused on Joe, the boyfriend, always the first suspect. But Joe wasn't fully cooperating. He said Katie left quietly. Didn't take her purse, phone, or keys. Police went door to door along Katie's route home. Nobody saw or heard anything, but they found Katie's shoes in the yard outside her house, near her bedroom window. She'd tried to climb back in because she didn't have her keys. Footprints in the gravel showed a struggle. Katie was attacked right outside her bedroom window. Then the killer drove her body to the desert and tried to burn it. About 40 people at that party. Was the killer one of them? Witnesses said Katie caught Joe kissing another girl. They got into a heated argument. That's why Katie stormed off and forgot her bag with her keys. But Joe never mentioned this argument in his first interview. Didn't tell Katie's parents about it either. What was he hiding? Detectives brought Joe back. This time he admitted the argument, but his story had problems. Joe said he was trying to call Katie, had text messages and voicemails to prove it, but he knew Katie didn't have her phone. He had her stuff at the party. So why was he calling a phone he knew she couldn't answer? Joe refused to give DNA, hired a lawyer, left town immediately, wouldn't talk to police anymore. Everybody assumed Joe killed Katie. Drop a comment right now. Do you think Joe was guilty, or was he just protecting himself? Let me know what you think before we reveal what happened next. Investigators had to get his DNA legally. Then somebody remembered. Before the party, Katie and Joe had sex in her bedroom. Detectives collected her bed sheets, found male DNA. They ran the test. It wasn't a match. Joe's DNA was on those sheets from their encounter, but it wasn't the DNA under Katie's fingernails. Wasn't her killer's DNA. Joe was cleared. He later gave a direct sample to confirm. Again, no match. Joe explained he'd refused because he was scared police would find his DNA from them being intimate and assume the worst. He was innocent, just a cheating boyfriend who looked guilty as hell. Police went back to other leads. Tire tracks near the dump site suggested a pickup truck. But in New Mexico, that barely narrowed anything down. Katie's rings were missing, including her engagement ring. The killer took them. The case hit a wall. About a year later, a young woman in Green Bay, Wisconsin was raped and set on fire. She survived by playing dead. Told police 2 Hispanic men attacked her. Investigators released composite sketches. A farmer recognized 2 of his workers, Gregorio Morales and Juan Neo. One had relatives in Las Cruces. Both got arrested. People thought they'd found Katie's killer. DNA test came back. Neither matched. They got convicted for Wisconsin, 70 years and 50 years. But they had nothing to do with Katie. The case went cold again. Detectives had one hope left, the DNA under Katie's fingernails. But there was a problem. At that time, New Mexico law, like most states, said DNA could only be collected after conviction and prison, not at arrest. When Jean found out, she was devastated. A detective told them all they really had was the DNA. Jeanne said, "Surely this monster will get arrested for something else sooner or later. Once they take his DNA, they'll find him right away." The detective's answer broke her. "No, ma'am. In New Mexico and in most states, taking DNA at arrest is illegal." 3 years passed. 3 years of waiting, hoping, praying the killer made a mistake. Then, December 18th, 2006, more than 3 years after Katie's death, the crime lab found a DNA match. Gabriel Avila, 26 years old, long criminal record. Released from prison not long before he murdered Katie. He didn't know Katie, never met her. She was just a random girl climbing through her window. And here's what makes this even worse. Less than 3 months after killing Katie, on November 13th, 2003, Avila broke into a house where 2 female college students lived, armed with a knife. Thankfully, those women locked themselves in the bathroom and called 911. Avila got convicted of armed burglary with intent to commit sexual assault, but then he was released on bond while awaiting trial. He disappeared. Didn't get arrested again until November 2004. That's when he went to prison. And only when he entered prison did they collect his DNA. It took nearly 2 more years before that sample got tested and matched to Katie's case. Think about that. The man who killed Katie was in the system the whole time. Got arrested for trying to attack 2 more women. But because the law didn't allow DNA collection at arrest, Katie's family had to wait 3 years while he walked free, attacked again, and finally ended up in prison for something else entirely. If this makes you angry, it should. Comment below, should every state adopt Katie's Law? Your voice matters in this conversation. Detectives confronted Avila in prison, showed him Katie's ring, the one they'd found in his pickup truck. He confessed everything. He said that night he'd gone out to buy drugs while his wife was out. Saw Katie walking home, asked if she needed a ride. She refused. Later, he saw her trying to climb through her bedroom window. He stopped his truck and asked, "Do you need any help?" Katie answered, "I can't get into the house because I forgot my bag." That's when he attacked her, raped her, then panicked and strangled her. He told investigators, "She fought back a little, and then somehow I just kept squeezing and I couldn't let go." After that, he drove her body out to the desert dump site, poured gasoline on her, tried to burn the body to destroy the evidence, but he failed. The fire went out, and Katie's DNA evidence remained under her fingernails, waiting 3 long years to finally match her killer. In 2007, Gabriel Avila was sentenced to 69 years in prison. He apologized to Katie's family, begged for leniency, but Katie's father stood up in that courtroom and told them, "We will never see our daughter again in this lifetime, so the man who took her life should never be allowed to walk free again." The judge agreed. Now, here's where Katie's story becomes bigger than her tragedy. In 2006, even before Avila was sentenced, Katie's parents had already started fighting. Not just for justice for their daughter, but for every family that might come after them. They pushed for something called Katie's Law. And that year, it passed in New Mexico. Only 5 votes against it. The law requires DNA collection from anyone arrested for a violent crime. Not after conviction, not after they've already hurt someone else. At arrest, think about what that means. If Katie's Law had been in place when Avila was first arrested years before Katie's murder, his DNA would have been in the system. Katie might still be alive today. And those 2 college students he attacked 3 months after killing Katie, if his DNA had been collected when he killed Katie, he would have already been in prison. They never would have had to lock themselves in that bathroom in fear for their lives. In 2010, Katie's Law became the basis for a federal standard. Today, more than 31 states have adopted similar laws. Katie's mother, Jean, said, "There is no such thing as closing the chapter on grief, but we have been healing and moving forward because we still have 2 wonderful children to live for. We have promised to keep fighting for Katie's Law to be adopted in all 50 states in honor of our daughter." If you want to see Katie's Law in all 50 states, share this video right now. The more people who know Katie's story, the more pressure lawmakers feel to make this change. Katie Sepich was 22 years old when she was murdered outside her bedroom window by a complete stranger. A man who saw an opportunity and took it. A man who had a history of violence. A man the system already knew about. She fought back with everything she had. Left the evidence police needed. Did everything right. But the system failed her. For 3 years, her family lived in agony. Waiting. Wondering if they'd ever get answers. Watching other families go through the same thing. But they didn't let that pain destroy them. They turned it into something powerful. Katie's legacy isn't just her death. It's the lives saved because of the law that bears her name. It's the violent criminals caught before they can kill. It's the families who get justice faster because DNA is collected at arrest, not years later. That's Katie's Law. And that's how a young woman from New Mexico, who just wanted to climb through her bedroom window and go to sleep, changed the justice system across America. Her memory lives on every single time a violent offender's DNA is collected at arrest. Every single time that DNA solves a case. Every single time another family doesn't have to wait 3 years for answers. Katie Sepich, remember her name. Before you go, I want to hear from you. Comment below. Does your state have Katie's Law? And if not, what are you going to do about it? Also, if there's a case you think I should cover next, drop it in the comments. I read every single one. If this story moved you, hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and turn on notifications so you never miss a case. Thank you for watching, and thank you for remembering Katie.